Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Tucker abandons Audra on their wedding day to save Ashley. Could the duo's relationship survive another Ashley issue? Springtime on The Young and the Restless is certainly bringing plenty of drama. With Jordan, Colleen Zenk, once again on the loose, Lily, Crystal Kahlo, back in town, shaking things up even further at an already contentious Chancellor Winters and Ashley, Eileen Davidson, in the midst of a serious mental health crisis, we'd say the residents of Geno City have plenty keeping them busy. Zeroing in on Ashley as she continues to wrestle with the three personalities currently occupying space in her mind, her loved ones are becoming increasingly concerned. Tracy, Beth Maitland, in particular, is deeply worried that her sister isn't well. In the episode airing on April 3, Tracy expresses her feelings to Jack, Peter Bergman, who is also concerned for Ashley, but Jack is adamant that Ashley is an adult who doesn't want their help. Now we'll admit, his reaction to Tracy's sentiments was a bit perplexing considering even Tucker, Trevor Street John, warned Jack that something was seriously erratic about Ashley's behavior lately. While Jack initially didn't want to hear anything Tucker had to say, we got the impression that Tucker's words penetrated Jack's hard exterior on some level. However, by the end of his conversation with Tracy, Jack didn't seem moved to interfere with Ashley. Tracy would prove right to worry, as in the same episode, Ashley arrives back at the Abbott mansion completely disheveled and unaware of what happened to her the night before. She just remembers being at the Geno City Athletic Club one moment, then waking up in a motel room the next. Ashley has no recollection of how she got to the motel or a memory of her once again talking to Tucker. When Tracy prompts her to get a physical examination, Ashley eventually agrees to go see a doctor, but stops short of seeking mental health assistance, what she really needs. With all that being said, it's clear Ashley's spiral is far from over. In fact, we think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Whether that means she attempts to harm Audra Zalika Silver, whom Ashley views as an obstacle in her reuniting with Tucker, or Ashley runs away from Geno City to escape those trying to make her get professional help, we believe the Young and the Restless viewers have yet to see the climax of Ashley's crisis. Now, if Ashley doesn't run away or finds herself in another precarious situation, we predict Tucker will be the one to save her. Although he's professed time and time again to be over Ashley, we don't believe him. If she were really in trouble, he'd likely do what he could to help her. Does that include leaving his own wedding? Perhaps. Also in the episode airing on April 3, Tucker asks Audra to marry him. While she doesn't give him an immediate response, we can imagine her saying yes, and the two not wasting time planning a wedding. Then when the wedding day arrives, word gets to Tucker that Ashley is missing or in distress. While he'd hate to abandon his bride-to-be on their special day, he may do that to help Ashley. He may even justify his actions by saying that he's doing so for the sake of the grandchild he and Ashley share, but we know it will be because he still loves her. If something like this were to happen, Audra would probably not take the news lightly. It's easy to see her taking a scorched-earth type of approach in dealing with Tucker, which could see her stealing Glissade away from him. Furthermore, we have to think being left at an altar would be the final straw for Audra when it comes to Tucker, and may open the door for her and Nate, seen Dominic, to finally explore their obvious chemistry. Would Nate even be up for running Glissade alongside Audra? While we wait to see what actually happens, we are almost certain that fans of the Audra and Tucker pairing should prepare themselves for the couple's pending breakup. In the grand ballroom of the luxurious Geno City Hotel, the air buzzed with anticipation and excitement, the scent of fresh flowers intertwined with the murmurs of guests as they awaited the arrival of the bride and groom. It was a day long awaited, a union that was supposed to cement two powerful families together, but little did they know the seeds of betrayal had been sown, and the harmony they envisioned would soon unravel in the most dramatic fashion. Audra stood in front of the ornate mirror, her reflection adorned in a breathtaking ivory gown that hugged her slender frame. Her hazel eyes shimmered with a mixture of nerves and excitement, her heart pounding against her chest like a wild stallion. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, the day she would finally marry Tucker McCall, the man she had loved since she was a naive teenager. But as the minutes ticked by, doubt began to gnaw at her insides like a relentless beast. Where was Tucker? Why hadn't he arrived yet? Audra's mind raced with 1,000 possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. She reached for her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed Tucker's number, only to be met with the cold indifference of voicemail. Panic seized her heart as she paced the room, her thoughts spiraling into a whirlwind of despair. Had Tucker abandoned her? Had he realized he couldn't go through with the wedding? Audra's chest tightened at the mere thought, tears threatening to spill from her eyes as she struggled to hold herself together. Meanwhile, across town, Tucker stood on the edge of the bustling city street, his heart heavy with guilt and regret. He knew what he had to do, knew the consequences of his actions, yet the weight of his decision bore down on him like a leaden cloak. Ashley's safety hung in the balance, and he couldn't risk jeopardizing it for the sake of his own happiness. With a heavy sigh, Tucker hailed a cab, his mind swirling with conflicting emotions. He knew he was breaking Audra's heart, knew he was betraying her in the worst possible way, but Ashley needed him, and he couldn't turn his back on her, not when her life was on the line. As the cab sped through the crowded streets, Tucker's thoughts drifted back to Ashley, the woman who had captured his heart in ways he never thought possible. They had been through so much together, had weathered storms that would have torn lesser couples apart. And now, as fate conspired to tear them apart once again, Tucker couldn't shake the feeling that he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Back at the hotel, Audra's world crumbled around her as she received the devastating news of Tucker's betrayal. Her heart shattered into a million pieces, the pain of his abandonment cutting deeper than any knife. She had trusted him with her heart, had believed in their love with every fiber of her being, only to be cast aside like yesterday's news. But amidst the wreckage of her shattered dreams, a flicker of determination ignited within Audra's soul. She refused to let Tucker's betrayal define her, refused to let him dictate her happiness. With a steely resolve, she wiped away her tears and squared her shoulders, determined to face the world with her head held high. As the sun began to set on the horizon, Audra emerged from the hotel, her gown billowing behind her like a ghostly apparition. The whispers of the guests followed her like a haunting melody, their eyes filled with pity and sympathy. But Audra paid them no mind, her gaze fixed on the horizon as she stepped out into the unknown. For Tucker, the guilt of his actions weighed heavily on his soul as he stood by Ashley's side, her fragile form nestled against his chest. He knew he had hurt Audra in the worst possible way, knew he could never make amends for the pain he had caused. But as he looked into Ashley's tear-filled eyes, he knew he had made the right choice, knew he would do anything to keep her safe. As the night fell and the stars shimmered overhead, Tucker and Ashley stood together, their love stronger than ever in the face of adversity. And though their path forward was uncertain, one thing remained clear. They would face whatever challenges came their way, hand in hand, until the end of time. Meanwhile, Audra wandered the streets of Genoa City, her heart heavy with sorrow yet filled with a glimmer of hope. She didn't know what the future held, didn't know where her path would lead. But one thing was for certain, she would never again allow herself to be defined by the actions of others. She was Audra, fierce and independent, and she would forge her own destiny, no matter the cost.